3 of the NFL season, and you're tuned in here to uh, the healthiest lineup in all of podcasting. We've got no torn ACLs, no
For Zach
AC
Banner.
joint sprains. We're looking good. But we haven't played at the Meadowlands yet, so give it time.
We lost Zach Banner. That is the major injury coming from us too. So that hurts. But we did
Which did
have a
happen
Kevin Dotson.
at the Meadowlands.
Yeah. I don't know if you were aware of this, but Zach Banner endeared himself to Steeler fans by always in victory formation, doing like an actual defensive posture when everyone else was just standing around.
Yeah, he did like his
And
kick step.
yeah. And so like there's like a mixed tape video of all the times he's done it, and the fans love it. So Kevin Dotson, rookie who started at right guard this past week in his honor, victory formation, did the serious step, and he confirmed it on Instagram that it was for his boy Zach Banner. So
Love
the
that.
legacy of lovability from kind of long shot offensive lineman lives on in the Steelers.
Man,
We can talk more about that later.
you really like disarmed my Steelers hate like right off the bat.
You'll get it back.
It's peak on like Sundays at like halftime of the Steelers game. It's like peak.
Is
Oh
it
yeah,
peak when I
can't
text you
stand
about
the
like
Steelers.
it's got to be peak when I text you about Megatron.
That doesn't actually bother me very much. I have no allegiance to like the Lions Megatron.
Well, what
So
are you drinking tonight, Joey, to celebrate the Ravens being 2
well,
0?
to celebrate America being back-to-back World War champs, drinking an American classic. Oh, just another Bud Light, just another regular ass victory, another regular ass beer, one of
Classy.
many.
Well, this is regular ass beer for me because I treat myself with respect. It's the Alchemist again. This is a dark Schwartz beer. It's a lager, so it's easy drinking. We're not getting crazy tonight. We got stuff to do, you know what I mean?
That's right.
So low alcohol content, but nice dark malts. Drinks kind of like a delicious brown ale.
Looks a little bit
Mm-mm-mm.
darker than Bud Light.
Just a skosh. Just a skosh. Well, now that we're both well lubricated, nailed it, well lubricated, should we dive into the Thursday night game? Which, for the record, get off our backs about Thursday night football, people. Canton, the Football Hall of Fame is Ohio. So for the exact 100-year anniversary of the NFL, they had 2 Ohio teams play. And you know what? We were all treated to a real, thrilling barn burner of a game. Everybody loved it, including us. What'd you think of this game, Joey?
Hell yeah, this thing hit the over. Um, I texted it in our group. I was like, you know what? Like, this is not a bad game. Like this Thursday night football. I was like, the NFL is really testing us next week with Dolphins Jaguars on Thursday night, and I was swiftly reminded that uh, a vast majority of football fans do not give as much of a fuck about Bengals Browns as I do. So,
Yeah, but you know what? They can just take a cool walk down to the river because you had 2 number 1 picks,
right?
2 Heisman winners. You got tons of talent on each side of the field, maybe more on one than the other, but still lots of talent. Um, you got characters. You got OBJ. You got Jarvis Landry. They both had really fun hair. If you don't care about football at all, you got treated to some wild purple hair. What more could you possibly want? Everybody needs to cool down. You had a guy that literally tried to murder someone with a helmet last year, and he was running around doing stuff. So, like, I don't know. I don't know. I love this game. It finished 35-30 Stinky Pants Browns. I think that this is the death knell for the Browns. I think they're bad. They have a great offensive line. I can't say anything bad about the offensive line. They didn't even have Conklin, who's like maybe supposed to be the best one, and they
Mm-hmm.
still played great. The running game is absolutely amazing. And that's it. That's the only thing I liked about this team. They stink. The Bengals are about to pass them, and we adopted Ohio teams, and you got the loser, dude. I got the Bengals. They're so exciting. They're so fun. Burrow is for real. The Browns are trash.
That's funny that you say that I got the loser, but I got the team that does not have a losing record. So, uh, I mean, so
Temporarily.
the Bengals, or excuse me, the Browns backfield, I'd say is right up there in like best units in the division with the Ravens corners and the Steelers pass rush. They're really really good. And I
Yeah,
think
they're great.
Baker easily could have thrown for 300 yards, but they didn't need to because once the game was put away and they were trying to protect the lead in the second half, like they just played smash mouth football, and Hunt and Chubb basically took turns on drives and punished the Bengals.
They didn't
And
have an answer. And
before the game was out of hand, they did the same thing to the Ravens in week 1.
yeah, they're going to run on everybody. And it's going to be, and if they stop doing it, they're going to lose. Baker wasn't going to throw for 300 yards because Baker just screws up. I even had it written down. Where did it happen? William Jackson, who didn't even have a good game, totally schooled Baker Mayfield on his interception. I wrote William Jackson, chess, Baker Mayfield, check. He totally duped Baker Mayfield into making the throw, and he picked it off. Baker Mayfield's just not that good.
He's a young
Not
quarterback
that
still.
good.
He's
He's a
had
young.
4 offensive coordinators in 3 years. Like,
It's just
it was a bad
amazing
throw.
when you're
That's
that
all.
young and you've already peaked. It's just
Okay.
what's amazing to me.
You know who else made a horrendously bad throw? Fucking 30-year NFL veteran Ben Roethlisberger this week. The interception that
How did
he
that?
threw,
I can explain that,
atrocious.
and I can explain that, and we'll deal with that in due time. Keep your eye on the prize. Keep your eye on the prize. I want to also clarify one other thing about the Browns. Do you want to say anything more about the Browns offense? Because Beckham had a TD, whatever.
Yes, I think that was important. Beckham had a TD very early, and Odell Beckham is. We've used the word front runner today in various conversations, but he is your prototypical front runner. Like if you get him involved and he makes a big play early in the game, he's going to be engaged for the rest of the game, and he was making catches and trying to make guys miss afterwards and not necessarily shying from contact, and that was really important for them to help get the passing game going.
He owned William Jackson. There's no doubt about it. And that was disappointing. And the Bengals are my team now. So I don't like it, but he definitely owned William Jackson. He double moved William Jackson on the long touchdown and made him look foolish. And then I think on the next drive, they didn't even call a pass interference that could have been called on William Jackson too. He was struggling all day. If you can't out physical OBJ and get him kind of out of his mental space, he's just like a really good wide receiver. So doesn't have to be too big of an indictment on William Jackson. Again, he was out there and with a short-term memory, embarrassing Baker Mayfield later in the game. So he recovered mentally and he did his thing. But OBJ was good. There's no denying that. I don't know. The Bengals defense couldn't really do a lot successfully. Jesse Bates had a way worse game. But you primarily noticed it stopping the run. And like, dude, he's a free safety. Like, you can't have him tackling Nick Chubb 10 times. Like, everybody just dropped the ball without Geno Atkins. And we talked about it before the game. No Geno Atkins, no Mike Daniels. So basically, DJ Reader is out there trying to do it by himself, which, like, that's not how you stop the run, people. So the Browns did the right thing, and they ran it a lot. And then, they used some play action to get Baker on the run, and he made good throws, which he's great play action quarterback. But you know who's overrated? Myles Garrett. Myles Garrett, way overrated. I can't believe I ever called this guy a potential player of the year candidate. He couldn't even beat Bobby Hart today. Bobby Hart might be the least qualified on Thursday, rather, tackle in the NFL. And so, you know what I did? I watched. I was like, Myles Garrett, this is when you become a player of the year. And you know what? All the stats are like, oh, Myles Garrett's so great. He had a strip sack that saved the Browns from themselves when they totally choked on the goal line. But you know what? They were running stunts because Myles Garrett couldn't beat Bobby Hart. So they kept running him inside. And guess who didn't have a good game? Fred Johnson, who started at right guard. Holy macaroni, did he get pantsed all day. Myles Garrett pantsed him when they ran those stunts. And Sheldon Richardson, before that, was just pantsing him when they were running straight up. Maybe the funniest play of the game was when Joe Burrow tried to do an inside spin move on Sheldon Richardson, and he just grabbed him with one arm and tossed him on the ground. I am a Bengals fan for this moment, but that was hilarious. I mean, that was like, you know, I don't want to be cheesy, but, you know, welcome to the NFL. That was like, okay, those moves don't work here, young man. Like, he just tossed him so casually. It was hilarious. He's a good player. Sheldon Richardson.
Myles Garrett probably had the fourth best defensive lineman performance on the Browns for the night. I'd say Ogunjobi, Sheldon Richardson, Adrian Claiborne was everywhere.
Until he got hurt.
Maybe even Porter Gustin. Maybe.
No, Gustin stunk. He did the face mask on a sack. He had a terrible penalty. The whole line
still
came
counted
in.
as a sack.
Dude, you can't face mask a guy when your whole team is about to tackle him. That's just bad. That's not the kind of thing that the Ravens or the Steelers would do.
I don't think it was.
That's why they're losers. Dude, they're losers. You just can't do it.
Something that happens.
Something that happens to losers. Losers do it. Losers like the Browns. Myles Garrett is overrated. I'm going to be watching you, Myles Garrett. You need to start beating players like that are better than Bobby Hart because you only get him one more time this year. They shouldn't have had to do all that fancy pants business to get him on Fred Johnson. Like, he should be winning his one-on-one matchups, and he wasn't. So I don't want to hear any crap about Myles Garrett having a great game because of his strip sack. That was coaching. That was a coaching manufactured sack. They got Myles Garrett probably because his feelings were hurt because he was having a bad game. Stinks. All right. I'm done with that. I don't know what else was there to say.
Joe Burrow.
Fun? Oh, yeah. Tough. So obviously he's great, right? Joe Burrow's exciting. He's making some throws. I noted on the TD to Uzama, who got hurt. He threw such a tight window between the trailing corner and the safety who was coming in. Like that. That's just a great throw, and just a bunch of quarterbacks can't make it. And they talked a lot about, does he have a strong enough arm? And the people that defended him said his arm strength is average, but his timing is awesome. And that is an example of it. He made the read, and he made the decision in time to put that throw into a very tight window. It's a really, really awesome throw. And it's important to note it because people that don't like him will be tempted to say, oh, he threw for 300 yards on 60 passes. That's not good. And it's not great. But the Browns did a pretty good job of staying over the top. And he did make a nice deep throw when he had the chance. So I wanted to make a note of that particular throw because it was probably the best throw he's made as an NFL quarterback.
Yeah, it was very akin to the throw that Russ made on Sunday night at the front pylon in the end zone to a lesser degree. But yeah, that's one thing that Burrow definitely has, is he definitely has the guts. You know, he definitely has the confidence to make the throws. He's not a rookie who's shrinking. You know, he's trying to make shit happen, and you could tell he believes in himself. And I think it's a matter of time before he's the second best quarterback in the division.
Yeah, Ben, then Joe, and then Lamar.
I mean, I'm not this season necessarily, but in a couple years when Ben's gone and the Steelers start looking for the answer, like, and I think he'll pass Baker,
a new
and
hierarchy.
Ben will leave, and
Yeah, I mean, there's like a chance if you're willing to be a little bit, you know, forward thinking that he's better than Baker right now.
Mm-hmm.
He's got no offensive line. He's making a lot of seemingly reads on his own because they're running a lot of five wide receiver sets. You can't coach the reads on those plays as easily. So, I mean, he's doing some stuff that seems to indicate he might be pretty advanced. Whereas Baker has gone through all these coordinators, and basically at this point, everyone agrees like you need to get Baker into play action. You need to coddle him. You need him to throw 25. Even the Browns guys that I listen to on podcasts are like, we need Baker between 20 and 30 throws a game. We need him rolling that play action and getting him outside the pocket because he's too short because he can't see above the big guys. It's like, dude, how much hand holding do we need to do? This guy's a number one overall pick. He needs to go out and do his job because he's going to be making all the money. Other people need help.
My counter to that would be that that's how this football team wins right now. Like,
That's fine, but
like
he should be like
work
Russell
Chubb and
Wilson.
Hunt, you know.
Dude, it should be like Russell
But
Wilson
how
when
long did
Seattle
it
won.
how long did it take Russell Wilson? Like, they were coddling Russell Wilson when he won the Super Bowl. Still,
Were they
they
coddling
were
him when they
a
drafted
run
him in the
first
sixth round and he
offense,
won
like
the starting job because he was better? Were they coddling him
because
when
he
he
was
wasn't
better
supposed to
than Matt
play?
Flynn. Ooh.
Yeah, yeah, yeah. Matt Flynn, who threw for like 400-yard game and they paid a ton of money.
Yeah.
Dude, okay, maybe he'll pass Baker. Maybe he passed Baker. I don't know. I don't know when it happens in the past. I don't know. The Bengals are the future. The Browns are oh so much the distant past because they're definitely not the present.
Jeez. We'll
It
see.
just is what it is, you know. Fantasy players, I would say, take note if your tight end pool is very low. Drew Sample had like 4 catches in 2 drives after Uzama left the game. Um, he might actually be like a guy that if you play in a large team league or you're desperate, Drew Sample might be good if you play, in a favorable matchup.
Young quarterbacks tend to lean on that tight end too.
And that one was for free. Drew Sample.
All right. Anything else you want to note on this game?
T. Higgins got his first catch, so that's to be celebrated for him.
Nice little
He's
snag on the sideline.
Yeah, he's clearly going to be behind some guys in the pecking order. It looks like including Michael Thomas, not the one of the New Orleans Saints,
Yep.
but the one of I passed Auden Tate and made him upset. And I'm also ahead of T. Higgins on the Bengals chart here.
Number 80
So,
for those watching at home.
yeah, good stuff. So T. Higgins is going to be out there probably a little bit infrequently to start the year, but he did get his first catch, and so good for him. Good to see the rookies doing their business, and that came right before Myles Garrett, who's having a bad game, had an offsides penalty because it's not a Browns game without a Myles Garrett penalty. People, sorry, it's just it is what it is.
So we got final score: Browns 35, Bengals 30. The Bengals won the fourth quarter, so the game was really not that close. Burrow brought him back at the end to get the cover. Yeah, that's about it.
Last 2 things. I got 2 last things. One, Bengals fans, you should be pleased that you have arguably the best quarterback of 2-minute offenses in the NFL. I think Joe Burrow is 3 for 4 now in the last 2 minutes of a half scoring. So clutch. You've got the clutch gene in Cincinnati just rolling around. 2, Zach Taylor, second-year coach. Everybody wanted him to see good things. He savvily used his timeouts at the end of the first half before the Bengals got the ball back to make sure that the Browns couldn't run out the time when they were in the red zone and either score a touchdown or kick a field goal. They ended up giving up the touchdown on a really crappy defensive play call. Not the point. Not the point. The point was the use of the timeouts, which made sure Joe Burrow had a minute and 30 seconds to get him up there and get a field goal. So good stuff, Zach Taylor. You're doing some good work with the clock. There's a lot of people who would love to see some better work with timeouts and the clock around here, including myself. That's all I got.
All right. Moving on to Sunday at 1 p.m. in the big catch-up bottle. The Denver Broncos traveled a couple time zones over to visit our very own Pittsburgh Steelers. I'll let you start with this game.
It was a weird game. Drew Lock got hurt almost immediately. We take injuries very seriously here at the AFC Northcast, and that's why I immediately wrote Drew Lock a personal letter in which I advised him to never, ever let two of the best pass rushers in the NFL hit him on the same play ever again. Just, it's unfortunate. It's a bummer. Sorry I had to make a little joke, Drew. You get it, entertainment. And you thought that at that point the Steelers were going to run roughshod on Denver because they proceeded to just hit, what's his first name, Driscoll? Jeff, like 1,000 times in a row. And I think they had 6 sacks and 2 turnovers in the first half. So it looked like it was going to be ugly. But Jeff is a tough son of a bee, and he hung in there and made some nice throws, like as he was getting hit, and did some good stuff and kind of kept them hanging around. And the Steelers offense was, it could have been better. And the Steelers hung on for a 26-21 victory. So there's some stuff to feel pretty good about as a Steeler fan. I would say maybe number one on the offense would be that James Conner looked like his old self. He was running with authority and gusto. His stats look a lot better than maybe the whole game implies because he closed out the game with a 50-yard run. But hey, the Steelers are often a team that tries to run out the clock and fails and leaves their defense to win the game. So the fact that they came out there knowing they were going to run, and he, with the line and Derek Watt coming out there, making some fullback stuff happen, was able to close out the game, was really nice. So good game from him. Mike Hilton with a sack for his second straight game. Did you know that Mike Hilton blitzed 9 times in week 1?
I know they blitzed Daniel Jones like 100% of defensive snaps. So
yeah,
you got to blitz somebody, and he's a great blitzer.
He blitzed 9 times in week 1, and based on my unofficial count, he might have blitzed 29 times in week 2. He was in the backfield all game. It was crazy. And credit to Denver for making some adjustments in the second half to get a tight end on him or something, because he wasn't quite as effective at that point. But man, they did not see him coming in the first half, and he was helping out in the run game. He had a sack, so he was great. Deontay Johnson needs to be noted here, because I think he might have gone to the Lamar Jackson school of touch football, because as far as he's concerned, that's the only way that he gets down. Like, how many tackles do you think he broke on just like 2 plays in that game? Like 11?
Yeah.
I mean, he had that punt return after the safety, and I didn't even know what he was doing. It was like he was just turning directions just for shits and giggles, and then he just jogged out of bounds. He's like, I think I'm done. And he had a touchdown called back. So luckily we don't care about called back punt return touchdowns, because all the Steelers do in that case is trot out their sweet Megatron rookie and throw 86-yard touchdowns to him. How about that? You want to talk? Let's talk about that, then you can talk about the interception, because that throw was right in stride. Dropped it right in the bucket, like Russ Wilson.
That's what Ben does. Yeah.
He tries.
That is what he excels at. It's what he did for years with Antonio Brown. Those deep balls down the sideline, like, that was their bread. It seemed like every time he fucking turned around, they were doing that to the Ravens. So yeah, that's what I expect to see. I feel like we just got kind of the quintessential Ben game. Like, he hung in the pocket on that play and got walloped.
Hmm.
That's what he's gonna do. Um, yeah, and then on the pick, he had he was doing his backyard Ben business and buying some time, and um, I heard it on another podcast that like you can kind of tell when Ben starts to like think too much and like try to like read the defense too much.
Steam. Is it the steam
It's not
coming
his
out
it's
of it?
not his strong suit. And he certainly kind of did that. He kind of like double clutched and climbed the pocket a little longer than he probably should have, and just threw a ill-advised pass when he should have thrown it away or ran a couple yards and slid. Um,
I was raking my mind about what note to take about that interception because it was so bad.
it
And
was
then
really bad.
Joe Buck saved me, and he just said, "You know that Ben Roethlisberger has never not thrown an interception against Denver." And I was like, "Oh, well, that's it. He just had to
I
do
had
it.
to. Yeah, it's
He
compulsory.
just had to do it." So thank you, Joe Buck, for saving me from myself. It was destiny. It was just destiny, and that was the time. So Um, yeah, it was definitely a classic Ben game. Some really nice throws into some tight windows and a couple horrific decisions. He had a scramble that was just God. I think he gets faster every day. I love it.
The
It's just
fountain of
great to
youth.
watch. He's the fountain of youth, no doubt about it. Um, we do have to acknowledge a downer. Benny Snell fumbled again. Two straight fumbles does not endear you to one Mike Tomlin. So if you picked Benny Snell up in your fantasy leagues, I'd leave him firmly on the bench. Uh, he is not coming back into a game until James Conner gets hurt again, and that might not be for at least 2 to 3 weeks. So I don't. The Steelers like to give one running back the ball, and it is James Conner after that Benny Snell fumble. That just will not do. Yeah, other than that, I don't, dude, I'm getting a little concerned about the secondary.
Yeah, I was gonna. I mean, Cortland Sutton got hurt and had to come out, but he was everywhere before he got hurt, and somebody burnt Hayden. I
I
think
don't
on
know
a
if I took a
touchdown,
note on it.
maybe. I don't remember.
Me not have a note on that. It might have hurt too much.
But
It might have hurt too
yeah,
much
I
for me to
mean,
write about it.
the fact that they allowed Jeff Driscoll to play from behind, and then eventually also without Cortland Sutton, um, and keep the game close is a bit of an indictment. They'll get their first real ish test um, on Sunday,
Yeah, they're
and
gonna have to play better.
and
They're gonna have to be
they
better than
have
they've
to,
been.
because the way the types of big plays that they gave up to Daniel Jones and Darius Slayton and to Noah Fant and Jeff Driscoll, like they have to stop those, because I mean they're turning the ball over on people, and
Yeah,
that
it's
really hasn't slowed down. I talked all the time about regression to the mean and the turnovers, and they haven't stopped.
well, you
Um,
might be onto something. They're only on pace for 32 right now. They
but
had 38 last year, so
but I mean, yeah, like Joe Hayden's interception was like he did not have his man covered. He was just behind the guy, and the ball bounced off his hands and into Joe Hayden's hands, and like so. I mean, they have some luck going, and they played a couple inexperienced quarterbacks, and we'll see how it goes the rest of the way. But it's also
yeah.
to give Steelers fans some solace. Like this is still like preseason type of like for these guys. You know, we didn't have one, and so
Yeah, it's true. I'm pretty sure we'll see some better stuff. And one thing that kind of goes to the point you just made is that most of the bad plays, not all of them, Stevie Nelson and Hayden both need to play better in man coverage. That has to improve. But they haven't been awful in man coverage. Where it's really seemed to stink is zone coverage. I actually wrote down like zone coverage equals 20 free yards. Like right now. Like that's
and
just what it
maybe
means. Like they did it with the Giants every third and long. Like every third and long, they do this zone business where they're just like tackle the catch, tackle the catch. It's like the one thing they remember from Dick LeBeau, nothing else. And they tackle the catch after a 15-yard throw. Like, dang, it's so frustrating. So that's just got to be better. The zone D, and that will communication and stuff like that. I think it will improve, but it's just not good enough right now.
yeah, and I think part of it will also once you start playing some of these quarterbacks that you can't just blitz the hell out of because they'll make you pay for it. Like you'll have more guys in coverage, and your pass rush is good enough to get home rushing four. Um, so maybe that'll sort itself out that way too.
That's probably a fair point, but it is a point of concern. I just am. I'm just like nervous about it. I do want to make a note in Devin Bush's defense here. A lot of Steeler fans and people might be thinking, oh, traded up for the 10th pick just to get a linebacker that can't cover tight ends. Only partially true. So Devin Bush has struggled a little bit to cover tight ends. He has struggled a little bit, but on some of the throws that you saw in the Denver game, particularly the touchdown, Devin Bush was lined up way inside Noah Fant. Like he was lined up like he was maybe going to blitz. He could have been shadowing the running back. Now he wasn't. He trailed Fant. But like you can't expect him to get all the way to the corner from that position. And Steelers Depot did a really great rundown of that play. And I don't understand all the concepts well enough to explain it perfectly, which makes me perfectly dangerous here. But basically, what happened is two Denver wide receivers ran vertical routes and crossed each other. One went to the inside, Fant went to the outside. And then Denver had another receiver that came shallow on a flat. The Steelers had three defenders, and two of them followed the guy in the flat, Mike Hilton and Terrell Edmonds. And it seems to be Terrell Edmonds should have not charged in the guy on the flat and should have been helping deep. Um, so is it his fault? Whose fault is it? I don't know. But the point is that when the Steelers want to have Devin Bush in 1v1 coverage with a tight end, they're not going to leave him 6 yards inside that guy with that type of space to operate with on the sideline without some sort of help. So there's some scheme stuff, there's some communication stuff that needs to take place. And Devin Bush has to improve in his coverage a little bit. But, give a guy a break. Noah Fant's also pretty darn talented tight end.
Yeah, I like him a lot actually. They've got a nice young core there with Judy and Sutton and Fant.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
Melvin Gordon, especially in the beginning of the game, they were ripping runs. Are you concerned about run defense at all? When
No, I mean they did such a good job with Saquon that
yeah,
it's hard for me to be concerned. I mean they held like the arguably the best running back in the NFL to like negative yards almost. So
yeah,
I'm not real worried about it. I think it's going to be a matter of investing of and allocating of resources, and I think the Steelers were ahead, and maybe just weren't allocating quite as many resources to the run as they were.
yeah,
But
that's fair.
it'll definitely be something to keep an eye on. Tyson Alualu, who we talked about, like he's playing nose tackle for the Steelers. He is not a nose tackle. He is now. Um, he's been great.
He
He's
had a
been
sack, right?
disrupting. I think he had a sack. He definitely was all over the backfield against the Giants. So there's good things happening up front. So you know, it'll be something to eyeball as they approach games against like the Browns and the Ravens, who have tremendous running games. But I'm not too worked up yet. I do want to make one little note about special teams here. Mostly my comments on Steelers special teams are reserved for jokes about Ryan Switzer, but it might be time to start to feel good because we've got Deontay Johnson returning punts, and he is a legit threat. I mean, like
Yeah,
the punts he returned this game were so fun to watch. I mean, we're talking Dante Hall, Devin Hester type fun here. And with all the risk because he'll just as likely fumble. He could very easily fumble. He has, the touchdown he scored didn't count, but the fumble that he did on the first of the year against the Giants. Oh, that counted for sure. So he is both scary and exhilarating to watch. And that's just the kind of entertainment we have signed up for as NFL fans. And my boy Ray McLeod, fucking returning the ball like 35, 40 yards. You've never seen a Steeler do that. Like, if you're younger than the age of 25, you maybe have never seen a Steeler do that. Maybe Martavis had a really good one. But, like, I mean, this is exciting stuff. And as promised, after a slow start as a gunner on special teams, Chase Claypool, 3 special teams tackles this week. He's out there killing it. You know how many it takes to lead the NFL last year? 16. He's on pace to double the next.
Yeah.
He is so far ahead of pace. And he's great. The thing that's so fun about it, and it took me a minute to find him because usually special teams is when you're grabbing a nacho or a beer or whatever. He's so big. He lines up a little on the inside. And just as he's getting towards some of the bigger blockers, he runs outside and right around them. But he's fast. So he gets back there. And all that's left is little guys, and they can't block him. He just pushes them over. There was a tackle that he made on a punt where the guy didn't even face up to him, so he just pushed him like 15 yards, and then he made the tackle. It was hilarious. So he's going to be fun. I predict at least one Chase Claypool caused turnover on special teams before this year is out. So he's fun. He's not just catching touchdowns once a game. He's a cool rookie to have. Special teams, it's our time. Finally our time, Steeler Nation. Finally our time.
We'll see how Boswell holds up with that kicking game.
I don't want to talk about him right now. He's fine.
We're talking about special teams.
We're talking about the special teams that I want to talk about.
So that game ended 26-21. The Bud Dupree contract tour continued. He was everywhere.
I didn't count
again.
Sacks.
He's a beast.
He's going to get paid a bunch of money.
TJ Watt had a zillion sacks. They were all over those Denver quarterbacks. So
they finished with 7. So, I mean, definitely the second half was not as good, but 7 sacks in a game is officially a bunch.
All right, and final score was 26-21. So moving on to the late game, America's game, if you will, even though I think the Chiefs and the Chargers was technically America's game, and I'm sure we will talk about that game a little bit when we talk about the next week's matchups. For me, this game was just kind of boring. As boring as a 33-16 win could be. The Ravens didn't have as high of like a touchdown conversion rate as we're maybe accustomed to. Justin Tucker got a little more work, but it just kind of seemed like they were on cruise control. Like there was nothing glaringly bad after like the first quarter, and I don't know, it was just kind of a ho-hum double up the opponent victory against a team that we're not really sure if they're good or not. Lamar was efficient. The running game was good. Pretty equal carries between Gus and Mark Ingram. Dobbins made a nice little play. Like the secondary rocks. LJ Fort showed up again. He's always around the ball, showing up around turnovers. And that's about it.
Before we celebrate how the Ravens are going to win the Super Bowl, I just want to make one note. Jihad Ward got straight embarrassed by Deshaun Watson in the first quarter. Do you remember what I'm talking about?
No.
He was about to sack Deshaun Watson, and Deshaun Watson just pushed him to the ground with one hand And then he looked downfield. He didn't even run away. You know why? Because he doesn't give a shit about Jihad Ward. So Jihad Ward stands up and charges him again, and he just ankle breaks him and then runs. He literally got totally embarrassed twice in the same play. It was one of the best things I've ever seen as a person that is obviously cheering against the Ravens. I was like, who is this? Tell me it's a player that Joey's going to care about, and it's Jihad Ward, so you're not going to care. But
No.
it was the only, like, there's another kind of philosophically good thing that I thought Houston did, but that one play, and I'm always looking for a chance to just talk about how garbage your players or your coach's style or your player's style or whatever I can grab onto. And I think it's going to be this Jihad Ward play for now, because it was basically the only bad thing that happened to the Ravens on the day. The other question I have for you is, like, this game was, I feel like as a Ravens fan, it was never really in doubt, but also it was never really put away.
Yeah.
And I started thinking, like, why do teams do stupid things against the Ravens now? Like, so much of it is mystique.
Yeah.
And, like, in the first quarter, I think they were down 3-0, and they just, like, went for a fourth down on, like, the 30.
On, like,
Houston
their own 35. Yep.
Yeah, and they're just like, they had already forced a punt. It's like they had already shown that their defense was, like, capable of making. It's not like they were down 14-0.
The first drive was a
Ravens
punt, I think. The first Ravens offensive drive was a punt.
Yeah, and you just, like, hand them points, and they did end up having a sweet. That was Ricard. Your boy Ricard had a sweet touchdown catch and roll into the end zone on that drive. So it was all worth it.
Fullback touchdown, yeah.
Yeah, it was all worth it. I made sure to say, like, hey, nice call, Bill, going for that fourth down. So now you are down by 2 scores. You have manufactured your own destiny. It's like Greek tragedy here. Like, you were told your destiny and you made it happen through your own stupid decisions. I just hope that the Steelers don't do something like that. Like, play your game. Like, the Ravens are really good. They have a really good offense, but don't chase something that isn't even there to be chased yet. Like, this has happened 2 weeks in a row where teams are faking punts and doing dumb things before it's even necessary. Like, let it play out a little bit for a second.
It's the same thing. We touched on it last week, that we'll probably see it more. It's the same thing that the Chiefs were doing to people once this Mahomes, Tyreek Hill kind of era really got ushered in. Is teams are so worried about not being able to stop, not giving up their possession, and they just do uncharacteristic things. I wouldn't be concerned necessarily about the Steelers doing it. I feel like Tomlin's a pretty headstrong coach, and historically I feel like they pick their trickeration spots pretty strategically and pretty sparingly. But yeah, Bill O'Brien is not Mike Tomlin. And as soon as it happened, I was like, oh, well, this game's over. Like, that's it. Like, once the Ravens are up 10 points on you, fucking good luck. Because then you have to pass the ball. And, like, even though they didn't score touchdowns, like, they still scored on almost every drive. Like, they had 3 touchdowns and 4 field goals. Like, it's a lot of scoring.
Yeah, I mean, they score a lot of points. I mean, like, 33 points is, like, kind of ho-hum for them.
Yeah.
And it's not ho-hum for anyone else. Like, speaking as a fan of a team that had, like, the best running back and wide receiver in the NFL for a series of years, we still did not average 30 points a game somehow. So it's like, that is definitely a big deal. But don't hand the points over. Like, don't, Yeah. Like, and since we're on the topic, I think Houston, like, did good things on defense that other teams should totally learn from. And I'm going to name 2 of them right now. One is at the right side of the Ravens offensive line. It's just not as good. And I don't want to toot my own horn too hard here, but I've been saying that. Like, I've been saying it over and over again. J.J. Watt owned Orlando Brown Jr. He owned him. And
yes,
the guard, he can be beaten too. Phillips, he's starting. Your rookie, he's starting at right guard, and they do some nice things. But like you can crash that side of the pocket, and the way that you sack Lamar Jackson is to rush complementary. Now, easier said than done. That means multiple people have to win on the same play. But on a couple of the Jackson sacks, you have Watt or someone else coming around the edge. So Jackson can't do his spin move and run 15 yards back, survey, and then break 1,000 tackles. He has to step up.
Yeah.
But he can't step up because Phillips is getting bull rushed right into his face. So
Yep.
he's not an idiot anymore. So he goes down. Like, and that's how the Texans had 2 or 3 sacks this game. Like, so you can do that. And the Texans did it well. And you have to have good rushers. JJ Watt, that's helpful. But can be done. 2, I think they really utilized the Tennessee school for handling Lamar Jackson's rush game really well, which I patted myself on the back. So I will own up. I said force him into the middle so you can hit him super hard and make him regret it. That doesn't work. He just makes everybody miss 100 times. Run him out of bounds because he'll take it. He doesn't want to get hurt. He'll take his yards and get out. And they really did it, particularly Zach Cunningham, linebacker, I think number 41.
Mm-hmm.
They really scooched him out of bounds. So instead of running and doing embarrassing things, he would get 4 yards and it would be over. And that really seems to be the way to do it. You need to just guide him out of bounds, and it works. So, lesson learned, right, Mike Tomlin? Watch this tape, damn it. Watch it. Those things were good enough to hold them to 33 points.
Yeah.
But good. So,
yeah. And then on the other side of the ball, you've got to score. There was, at the end of the first half, there were 2 Texans drives in a row. There was the Marlon Humphrey punch out. LJ Fort scooped it and took it to the house.
Dude, that punch out is so nasty.
But
I don't even know what you do.
But he's in love with it, and so like Juju last year, like it seemed like the first time he was aware of it, and so like Marlon will miss some tackles, and Juju's a physical player, and so it's a risk, and it has to be calculated. And
coming downhill from what looked like some sort of zone, or maybe he was guarding someone else. That's tough. I mean, he hit the guy like right as he caught it, and his back was turned to Marlon. Like, I wanted to find a way to not celebrate that, but Marlon just nailed it. Like you could almost see him drooling as he was approaching. Like he knew he was knocking that ball out 3 days ago.
Yeah.
And the Peters interception was the same thing.
So the Peters interception, so it was vintage Marcus Peters.
Oh yeah.
Deshaun Watson made the right read on the play. They did a really good job on the broadcast of explaining it all. So the Ravens showed that they were in man. The Texans used pre-snap motion. They made the Ravens declare man coverage. And I think it was, regardless of who it was, it might have been Anthony Averett was covering the guy in the slot who was running a crossing route. And
it was Humphrey.
Had his guy beat. Was it Humphrey?
It was Humphrey, yeah.
Was beat across the field in man coverage. But Peters' guy just ran a little route into the flat, and Peters sitting back watching the quarterback because that's what he does. That's what butters his bread, and made an incredible play. Made a play on the ball. He made a catch that I think probably a third of the wide receivers in the NFL don't make. Like his ball skills are crazy.
It was as good as the catch Juju made on the throw that wasn't even to him in the Steelers game.
Yeah.
It was a really, really good catch.
Yeah.
And I don't even know how you land and don't knock the wind out of yourself when you're holding your arms out the way he was. But he had that ball on lock. And again, like I don't love Marcus Peters. Maybe it's all because he's a Raven. Maybe it's just partially because he's a Raven. I'm not going to explain myself. So I'm looking for ways to not celebrate this play, but it's just like an excellent play. And it just proves like you just have to know where he is and what you're doing with him. Like if you run his player into the flat, He doesn't give a shit. So you are officially giving him license to roam. Like,
Yeah.
I hope that the Steelers send his man all the way to the end zone on every play. Like, I don't want him looking at anybody. I don't want him looking. You don't get to look. Chase somebody far. No route trees, no funny, but he's smart. So take the mental part out of the game. Just make him be physical. And you might lose a wide receiver, whoever he's guarding, maybe. But he gets beat. You can double move him.
Yep.
But like, I mean, that was a classic Marcus Peters play. I mean, you just had to be celebrating your little love of your stupid corners. Except for Avery.
Those 2 drives
really
in a
not that
row.
good.
They were like 3 game minutes apart. Ugh, it's wonderful.
Yeah. Averett's really the only one that doesn't seem like he's excellent to me. He's like average maybe.
Yeah.
You can beat him. So, look for number 23 on the field. He's not even always there because Jimmy Smith will play instead, and then you're just in trouble. But if he's out there, I'd say just throw it to whoever he's guarding and hope that Jimmy or Marcus Peters isn't on the same side of the field because he might intercept it anyway.
Yeah.
It's exhausting.
So, I mean, not much to say really about the backside of the defense, or the defensive front. It was kind of a quiet day. And then the Ravens had a vintage fourth quarter, like 14 straight runs, 8-minute, kick a 30-yard field goal drive, and the game was over.
Which drive? I think it was a fourth quarter drive that ended in the direct snap to Ingram on this like super jumbo.
1.
Dude, I thought that the Ravens were going to finish a day in which I was like just not impressed with their offense. But they started going to the read option play for Lamar, which is like, I was like, why aren't they doing this more? Because his runs aren't that good. And I think that's part of it. They started doing that and it worked. And then they did this funny business where apparently Lamar was a wide receiver.
He was out wide. At the end of the run, you can see him running down the sideline with Ingram.
Gotcha. But other than that, it was like a jumbo formation. And Ricard made a crazy good seal block, and the rest of the linemen kind of crunched down. And Ingram had, I mean, it was like a 6-lane highway that he was running through by himself. It was a good play. They always do something funny.
Yeah.
That was it.
Yep.
Ravens.
And then they let Gus be the hammer for the rest of the game, and that was it.
He's good. So, he is downhill. He's going to get you his 5 yards of carry. And yet he will always be the third string back somehow.
Yeah. In 2 years, he'll go to the Jets because that's where all the Ravens cast-offs go, and he'll start for a season and average 3 yards a carry and be out of the league in a couple of years.
The Ravens will probably get a 4th-round pick for him or something.
Yeah.
Even though he has no years left on his contract, and everyone knows they're just going to drop him because they have J.K. Dobbins and Justice Hill or some other schmuck they drafted.
Yeah.
God, I hate the Ravens so much.
So, last week I called Houston Kansas City light, and I said it'd be like a good tune-up for the Ravens, I think. And they passed the test.
Well, now that you've seen it up close and personal, let's move on to next Sunday and do some brief previews. The Steelers have the honor of playing Houston at home at 1 p.m. on Sunday. What should they expect, and what do they need to do, in your opinion, after handily dispatching them?
I think their passing offense just doesn't feel like it's in sync still. Against the Chiefs and the Ravens. The NFL schedule makers really fucking hate the Texans, huh?
Yeah, I think this is like their most winnable game of like the first half of the season.
Yeah, and they had to start the season against probably the 2 biggest Super Bowl favorites, and then the Steelers defense, like, jeez. So they're really punishing Bill O'Brien for something. Um,
And he deserves it.
so yeah, I don't think the Steelers should be worried. I don't think that Houston is a good football team. They have this like lingering. They still look like the Texans, um, and they'll show flashes, but the back end of their defense is still very vulnerable, and they're just not as good offensively. Will Fuller's already dealing with hamstring stuff. Surprise.
Oh, is he?
Yeah. And
Wicked.
there's no DeAndre Hopkins, and so it's Randall Cobb and Brandon Cooks out there who are like solid guys, but they don't scare anybody anymore. Um, David Johnson and Duke Johnson, like, yeah, I think the Steelers should pretty much be able to impose their will on offense, and then on defense, you just have to be disciplined against Deshaun. Like, you can't let him. He does the same type of stuff that we've seen Ben do for years and years and years, and he'll get out of things that you think are sure sacks and then find someone downfield after the coverage gives up or something like that. And, um, so
Yeah, I pretty much agree with you. I would say I'm gonna hand out my most respect to an upcoming opponent, and the Broncos earned some of my respect last week. Noah Fant, good player. Cortland Sutton, good player. Driscoll stood in the pocket and made some decent passes. I don't think the Broncos are going to be substantially less competitive now than they were going to be with Drew Lock. Like, I think they're going to surprise some bettors where maybe they don't win, but they cover some spreads because they're not going to be favored ever going forward.
yeah,
So I am giving posthumous respect to the Broncos as I did to the Giants, who no longer have it without Saquon Barkley, for the record. They
yeah,
are going to stink. They are going to stink so bad. Right down there with the Browns. Um, but I am concerned about the wide receivers. I'm going to assume Will Fuller is playing because I didn't know he was hurt. And if he is, like, Steven Nelson and Joe Hayden, they just need to be better. Brandon Cooks is decent. Will Fuller's dangerous. Like, they just have to defend better than they have, or the Steelers are going to get big played like multiple times. Minka Fitzpatrick has been a non-factor so far, so I can't assume he's just going to have like a 96-yard interception return for a touchdown yet. And also, Jordan Akins, their tight end, leads the team in receptions right now. And after a game like last week, and Ingram had a pretty decent week one against the Steelers, I think you have to take a little bit of your investment in stopping the run and pull it back a little bit. And you're going to give Duke and David Johnson a little bit more opportunity, maybe, because you have to protect against the big play, because eventually you'll impose your will. You have to be patient against this team because you haven't shown the ability to like lock down that coverage without extra assistance, in my opinion. And I think on offense, J.J. Watt is the big concern for me because he's going to be going against Chukwuma Okafor, who wasn't even supposed to start right tackle. So, he played pretty well in his first start, but he didn't play against J.J. Watt. And that's a big deal. And then the running game will be interesting. I thought that Houston did such a good job of stretching out Lamar that I'll be curious to see if Pittsburgh can run outside. Because if Lamar couldn't, it's going to be hard for the James Conner too. And frankly, Houston's safety, Justin Reed, he really made some nice
yeah.
tackles. And I will just keep my fingers crossed that he has to tackle Pittsburgh running backs as many times as he had to tackle Ravens running backs. Because that means they're getting to the second level, and that means Kevin Dotson or hopefully David DeCastro is making some nice pulling blocks and getting them some freedom. I think the Steelers are going to continue to surprise a lot of people in the passing game. They just have they have too many wide receivers that are like, you don't want to call them stars, but they're just all better than the people that end up guarding them. Like James Washington going against a team's like fourth corner. That's not fair.
Yeah,
Chase
this is what
Claypool.
always happens with the fucking Steelers. It's infuriating. Like
Yeah.
so you guys can trot out now Juju, Claypool, Deontay Johnson, James Washington. It's like,
Yeah.
fuck, man. And then you get
Yeah.
into all the gadget stuff with Deontay, and I'm sure eventually Claypool will be involved in all that, all those stupid shenanigans too.
If they bother, they might just do the shenanigan of throwing it to him high because he's tall.
Which one of these
So
guys played quarterback in high school? That's what I need to know. That's the advanced scouting that the Ravens need to know. Because
I don't think any of them that I know of. But so I mean that's going to be a big advantage for the Steelers. Ben will probably throw a stupid pick, but they're going to be a matchup nightmare.
he'll
Yeah.
throw a pick
So
to J.J. Watt, probably.
I feel pretty confident that the Steelers will win the game. I don't think the Steelers are a team that you want to bet the spread repeatedly when they're favored because they tend to play closer games than makes sense. So I'm not trying to advise anybody because they're probably favored by like 4 or 5 points, is my guess, playing at home. But they might not win by that because they're silly. But I think I think they'll be fine. And complementary pass rush. This is the chance to practice it. The Steelers' pass rush is bonkers. Cameron Hayward and Stephon Tuitt should have no problem pushing the pocket, and we have sung plenty of accolades for T.J. Watt and Bud Dupree already, and apparently Mike Hilton is involved in that business as well, 20 times a game. So they'll make Deshaun do Deshaun things, and he'll either succeed or fail. Fail, fail, fail,
Yeah,
fail.
yeah. I think the Steelers will win this game.
What do you think, Browns versus potatoes?
Sure, let's do it. Also at 1 o'clock, that Washington football team franchise will go to the hard lands of Cleveland, Ohio, where the Poop Browns are on a 1-game winning streak. And it's going to be interesting. The Browns' offensive line has performed pretty well this year. And this is reasonably their toughest test of the year as far as the defensive front goes.
I think so.
With the Steelers close behind. The good news is that's pretty much all the Redskins have. And or
Accurate.
the football team formerly known as the Redskins. It's going to take me a while to shake the Redskins.
The potatoes football team. If Cleveland does Cleveland things, which is like coin flip, and they lose like the lead early because they throw a stupid interception or just have 2 false start penalties in a row and punt, and then like a pass interference or something on McLaurin, Terry McLaurin, he's a legitimate star player at this point, then the Browns will have to, they might feel like they have to throw. Like, I hope they don't. Like, they should never feel like they have to throw unless they're down 20 in the second half, but they might. And at that point, it is officially hunting season. Like, if they can get a lead or at least keep it a close game, which is hilarious to say because it's Washington, like they should trounce them, but they should be fine because the running game is a natural depressant to the pass rush. You close those guys in. So, and the strength of the Cleveland line is all of it, but it's the interior, especially if Jack Conklin's still not playing. So, you want him to run the ball and be smart, and Baker just needs to not throw a stupid interception or have there be a dumb fumble or something and have him slip. But they need to continuously play smart because the Redskins came back from down 17 against the Eagles. So like the Redskin potatoes, sorry, they're young and dumb. Like, they don't understand how much worse they are than most of these teams. So like, you can be winning and feel like everything is great and it'll still come crashing down. So it'll be a great opportunity to see if the Browns can play mistake-free football for more than 8 minutes at a time.
Yeah, they need to really fucking script the first 15, get a score, and play from ahead. because it's just who they are as a team. They're a front running team. If they're playing from behind, Baker gets all flustered, and he's shown that he'll give the ball away. OBJ's body language goes to hell. Jarvis Landry starts getting into it with everybody and their mom, and shit just goes downhill. So these are two not great football teams, but not like totally piss poor football teams. I think Denzel Ward should be able to effectively neutralize Terry McLaurin, and then after him,
Yeah,
the Redskins don't really have much else.
not a lot. Although
So
this will probably be one of the few times we watch the Redskins this year, and they have a pretty fun rookie named Antonio Gibson, who was technically a wide receiver in college, but he's starting at running back for them.
Yep.
So, in typical Redskin fashion, and I know that Ron Rivera is their coach now, so they shouldn't have a typical fashion. The guy that was a wide receiver in college and is a running back now has 3 catches on 4 targets through 2 games. So, here's a little hint: throw him the freaking ball more. Jesus.
yeah,
Why am I giving advice? I'm not even getting paid. So if they use him in creative ways, he could end up being a fun guy to watch. We'll see. I'll be looking forward to watching him.
yeah. There was a lot of hype around him in the offseason up there as somebody with close ties to the DMV. Because of that, so the Redskins' new offensive coordinator is North Turner's son, who just came from Carolina, and they basically did what they did with Christian McCaffrey, and the hope was that you get a little bit of that flavor with Gibson, and it hasn't really come to fruition yet.
Could be the rookie factor and lack of preseason. Maybe they just don't have the plays mastered. So it'll come. So I don't want to be too hard on Washington Redskins. God knows that they deserve as many second chances as we can give them. No, be hard on them. They stink. Get it done, Redskins. Redskin potatoes. Washington Football Club. I actually like the logo. I like the W. I'm fine with it.
It's fine. It's just plain.
Yeah.
For a good while, watching some highlights from that game during the late games last week, I didn't even realize that they did, like, the uniforms are basically not different.
Yeah.
It's the same.
All right. So I'm going to probably end up picking the Browns to win. But if there's any sort of spread, I'll probably go with the Redskins.
It is -7 in the sports book I use right now. Cleveland.
I'm going to have to think hard about that. I think the Browns they're still losers right now. Like, I don't know that I can just say that they're going to win by a touchdown. I just don't know if I can do it.
Yeah. I have to show you first.
Yeah, they're not good. They don't have linebackers right now. They don't have safeties.
We'll see.
Yeah. Well, I've already seen that part. I've already seen the part that I just said. And Myles Garrett's overrated. So, got to get that in one last time this show. Bengals, Eagles?
Bengals, Eagles. In the city of
Philadelphia.
brotherly love.
God, should we just like say such stupid stuff about the Eagles right now?
Yeah, the Eagles
This is for you, Dean.
stink. Carson Wentz is absolute garbage. Miles Sanders is not an every down back. Zach Ertz and Dallas Goedert are trash. And Jalen Mills is the worst safety in the league.
You know what's hilarious about this game? The Eagles have some issues at wide receiver with injuries and some issues at O-line with injuries and just lots of injuries. But the skill players that they have remaining, Dallas Goedert, whatever, who cares? Zach Ertz, Miles Sanders, these are the exact type of players that the Bengals cannot deal with. Like,
Yeah.
we thought that they were fixing it, and last week the linebackers fell apart and everything was a mess again. So, like, you've got tight ends and running backs coming out of the backfield doing things. They're doing stuff. They're running routes. They're being clever. This is exactly what the Bengals cannot handle. They can't handle it. So presumably, advantage Philadelphia. And yet, I still think that if Geno Atkins plays, I think the Bengals might be better. Like they might be better than Philadelphia. Philadelphia stinks right now. What's their problem?
Yeah, I don't know. Wentz just can't figure it out, man. Um, he keeps putting them in really bad positions, and they've had some injuries, and yeah, I
I
don't know what it is.
almost think it's an advantage of the Eagles that they're not going to have fans because I'm telling you, Joe Burrow's going to come out and lead a scoring drive, and there would be batteries and there would be things that you don't want to get hit by flying.
Yeah.
And the fact that there's no fans, I think, helps the Eagles. Um, I don't know why. Everything leads to the Eagles winning. Like the Eagles pass rush has Fletcher Cox and Malik Jackson in the interior. They're gnarly. Fred Johnson just got totally embarrassed all game last week. You think Fletcher Cox isn't going to be 9 yards behind the line of scrimmage on every play? He will be. And yet, if this spread is more than 3 points in Philadelphia's favor, I am picking the Bengals. Like, and in our pick'em, I think I'm gonna pick the Bengals to win. The Bengals have been like they have been competitive both weeks, even when they shouldn't be, and the Eagles are playing down right now. I think the momentum is going opposite directions. I just think the Bengals find a way. I think AJ Green will have a better game because the Eagles, do they even have a corner? Do they have even one?
Namdi Asamoah.
Dude, he's been in the league a long time. Oh, Darius
Ronald
Slay.
Darby. Oh
They
no,
do
it's
have,
Darius Slay.
so that'll be good. I wrote that down. Darius Slay, I think, is actually that'll be a good because AJ Green struggled with Denzel Ward, so it'll be
He sure
interesting to
did.
see. Um, Darius Slay could actually that'll be a good matchup. So again, Eagles favor. The Eagles really should win. They really should, and they're not gonna.
They should
They're
have
just
beat the
not.
potatoes too.
Dude, they're just a bad team right now, and it's sad because they're supposed to be good this year, and they got the injuries and stuff, and just ride the excuses, Dean. It's gonna be fine.
I'm not sad about it. Fuck the Eagles. In the pick'em spread, it's 5.5, and
Yeah, I'm gonna take the Bengals.
I'm already locked in on the Bengals. Yep, I just looked at them. So
Put a unit on it,
good
right? That's what we
brain.
say in the business.
That's right. A
Put a
unit
unit.
and a half, maybe,
Ooh, I don't even know what that
or
means.
you split the unit. You do half a unit on the first half spread, and then half a unit on the final score spread.
I didn't even know there were half units.
Units, whatever you want it to be.
$1 American.
A unit's different for everybody. I mean,
Sure, sure. $1 American over here. You heard it here first. 50 cents on the final spread,
that's right.
as Joey instructed. So, Monday night, it's the game America's been waiting for ever since the Ravens choked last year and didn't give us the game we were looking for because they suck. They suck so bad. So, we're going to get the game that the Ravens don't even deserve to play despite themselves. Are they going to show up and do a good job here?
Yeah, I think they will. Um, I'm upset that we're getting robbed of finally getting a true home game against the Chiefs because the last 2 years we've had to go to Arrowhead and play them. And, like, yeah, there's like the time zone travel stuff. Um, but it's not the same without fans. Like, the Ravens are one of probably a handful of teams that I think still have like a true home field advantage. Um, but yeah, I think that they've probably been saving some things for this game. I think I mentioned that last week too. Uh, I would expect to see some new wrinkles. It looks like the Chiefs were digging deep in the playbook, and maybe their playbook is just like double deep. But um, in that opener, that Thursday night game that the Chiefs played, like they were running all kinds of crazy stuff, and they're coming off an overtime hard game against a division rival. So we'll see. We'll see. Hopefully, what the Chiefs, hopefully whatever the Chargers did, the Ravens can try to duplicate. And you just got to limit the big plays, man. Keep everything in front. Dick LeBeau, tackle the catch. And don't turn the ball over. Lamar's been very good at that. The Ravens in general have been very good at that this year. And I think they'll be fine. I think the offenses are pretty much equal. And I think the Ravens defense is better than the Chiefs defense.
Yeah, the one thing you need to be concerned about is the Chiefs defensive line, which has Chris Jones and Frank Clark as defensive ends, and they have Taco Charlton, who is he's kind of become a little bit of a bounce around guy ever since he was drafted pretty high by Dallas. But
Dallas, yeah.
they've all got some sacks already this year. And as we just talked about, Baltimore has proven that on that right side of the line, if you can collapse that, that's how you can get Lamar. And they have the big boys to do it. They got a big nose tackle in, what's his name? Derek Nottie. He doesn't really get the sacks, but he can help by just absorbing blockers so that the other guys can do more work. So I think that's a legit concern. I think as far as your defense, this is the big moment to celebrate all your new guys, right? Because the Chiefs have Clyde Edwards-Helaire. He's already run the ball almost 40 times in 2 games, so they're not shy about being a running team right now. You've got Calais Campbell. You've got Derek Wolfe on the defensive line. You got Malik Harrison, who's already proven to be a pretty adequate linebacker. He's chasing stuff down. He's shown some speed.
Yep.
And you got Patrick Queen, obviously. So I think these are all guys that, I mean, they're supposed to do a lot of things in all phases of the defense. But in the running game, I think that like you're looking to see immediate impact from all these new additions.
Yeah.
So you want them to help you negate Clyde Edwards-Helaire, who, as we know from my awesome scouting report on his 6-minute highlight tape, his legs move really fast. So you're going to have to be minding it. You're going to have to use appropriate tackling for him because he's shifty. He's probably not going to run a 75-yard touchdown. But he can make people miss in the backfield even. So everybody's got to be minding their gaps. And then I think that for me, like, Baltimore needs to not be tempted to show off how much better Lamar is in the passing game seemingly this year. Like, run the ball, slow the pass rush down. Don't feel like you have to jump up on the Chiefs by 20 points right away or whatever. Like, take possessions away. This doesn't have to be a 35-33 game or a 48-45 game. Like, you can win the game 24-17 by just doing all the plays that you're excellent at, running the ball, getting the yards you can easily get, work in the middle of the field with Mark Andrews. Like, don't feel like you have to run with the Chiefs just because your offense might be good enough to do it.
Yeah, I think the biggest difference between last year and this year in that regard is nobody expected the Ravens to be like on the Chiefs level last year going into the season, and the game was early. I think it was like week 4, similar to this one. But this game, like, the Ravens belong in this game, and they don't have to prove that they can hang with the Chiefs. And I think maybe we haven't seen some of the more intricate run stuff yet this year, and they'll bust it out here against the Chiefs, because I do still think that this should be a run first team, just the makeup that they have. And you can score in a hurry running the ball if you're the Ravens. Like, you've shown it time and time again.
True story.
So yeah, I think this will be really telling, just to see kind of like the mindset of the team. Because if they feel like they belong, they're not going to do the silly things. Like, they go for it a lot on 4th downs and things like that already, but they're not going to do... they were the team last year that was doing like fake punts in your own territory against the Chiefs and like the cute stuff, and
Yeah.
I think you can
Just do
play this team straight up with confidence this year.
you just got to do it within yourself.
Yeah,
Like in week 1, who the heck did the Ravens demolish in week
the
1?
Browns.
So the Browns tried to fake punt with the special teams unit in their own. That's ridiculous. That's idiotic. Houston at least used their offense, right? If
Hmm.
they'd have run that play from even their own 45, it's not as ludicrous, right? So you just got to do it within yourself. If
Right.
Baltimore runs a play on 4th and 2 from Kansas City's 48, like, yeah, that's what Baltimore does.
Yeah.
It's not chasing, it's just them running their normal philosophy. Um, so I'm with you there. I think the one other thing I forgot, one defender that's new that matters. This is gonna be a big test for Deshaun Elliott. Um, the
Yeah.
Ravens have excellent, excellent corners, so you're gonna be tempted to be like, well, we can handle it. But here's the thing: the Chiefs receivers are super fast, so everyone's gonna have to be really on point assignment wise. And Deshaun Elliott, even though he's not wearing the green dot, is going to have to be an excellent communicator in the secondary and also be really, really solid on his assignments because Kansas City is always pushing people down the field. Even when they're not actually making the throw down the field, there's always people down the
Yeah.
field deep. So he's going to have to really, really be on it. And it'll be a good test for a guy that you guys are excited about.
Yeah.
Sammy Watkins, still good somehow.
Yeah.
Drafted Mecole Hardman on like 19 fantasy teams, and he's not doing anything because Sammy Watkins is just still good.
Yeah.
Stupid Sammy Watkins. Not doing. It's great, but yeah, it'll be a fun game. I kind of think the Ravens might win. I know my mom's gonna be upset with me for saying that, but I just think I think the Ravens are chasing it, and the Chiefs have more of a long-term vision. I think it's hard for these players to not go into that game being like, "We should have been able to fight you guys last year," and the Chiefs are like, "Whatever, dude. We won the
Yeah.
Super Bowl. Like, we'll play and we'll play hard and well." But they don't have it personally. They
The
didn't
old eye at the tiger.
yeah. So, but I'm
Yeah.
excited to see.
Also, insider note: the Ravens are wearing black jerseys at least on Monday night. Uh, I really hope that doesn't mean white pants. They do that sometimes. If you're gonna wear the black jerseys, wear the black pants, or even the purple pants. That's a good look too.
Okay.
And then put those motherfuckers away and don't wear them again until every playoff game. Black shirts. On the road,
Okay.
doesn't matter. Black shirts.
I forgot that I need to care more about uniforms when we
Oh yeah.
talk. I just never know what the Steelers are doing, and I maybe don't even know what they did last week. I don't even remember.
I think everything's been pretty standard so far this year.
Dude, the Steelers just wear black and gold in some combination all the time.
Yeah.
It's like the sun rises and the sun sets and the Steelers division. What do you want me to do?
So, yeah, the Ravens are going to miss that atmosphere, that prime time game in the big crab cake. But yeah, I'm pretty confident that the Ravens win this game.
How nervous are you? This is a big game.
Um, it's a big game, but I'm not really nervous at all. I don't know if it's me already hedging with myself, but
Okay.
basically I think where I stand on it is it's a good measuring stick, but in the scheme of the season, I don't think this game really matters much. Only one team is going to get the bye, and we saw how the Ravens did with the bye last year. So I'm not super worried about the bye, and without fans, I'm not super worried about traveling to Kansas City.
They already
So,
have fans. They have fans in week 1, Joey, so they don't give a shit about any pandemic.
well, they don't have all the fans.
They had 16,000 in week 1.
Ooh.
They're going to pack that place for a playoff game. They don't care. They don't care. What's a little mortality rate when it comes to repeating as Super Bowl champions.
That's right.
This is a city with its priorities. You're going to be facing the full atmosphere of whatever the decimal records are. I don't know the answer to
Well,
that. It's 100 and something, I think.
actually, we won't because the Ravens are going to win this game, and that's going to, at the very least, tie break the 1 seed in the AFC. So, Monday
Okay,
night.
you heard it here first. The Ravens may or may not win on Monday night.
It'll be a fun game regardless, so you should watch it.
Yeah, definitely one of the most fun games to start the year, and probably, if it lives up to the hype, it'll be one of the best games of the whole year.
10-7.
That would be so great.
What if it's like 6-3? It's just like Tucker and Butker.
Yeah, Tucker goes like 2 for 6.
How about we haven't talked about I'm a pretty staunch Justin Tucker is the best kicker ever, hands down, no contest type of guy.
Sure.
I think I'll concede that it's arguable. What Harrison Butker did on Sunday, holy moly! Definitely, I think it puts him in the conversation of like best kicker right now, category.
I know he kicked a number of 50-plus yarders. I don't really know exactly what he did.
He kicked a 53-yarder that the Chiefs false started on, and he drilled it, and so they backed it up to 58, and he got iced, but he drilled that one too, and then he made the 58-yarder that counted to win the game. It's like, oh, oof.
I heard that, but without the yardage numbers.
And
That's
like
pretty...
the first 58-yarder like hit the net. Like it didn't like it was low on the net, but like he had plenty. It was crazy.
This is my parting thought, and it'll be a fantasy football thought. This will be the most fantasy concentrated podcast of the year. Even Harrison Butker is not worth taking in anything but the last round of a fantasy football draft. So stop being a tool bag.
It's week 3 and I'm already streaming defenses. I think next year I'm just not going to draft the defense. I'm just going to wait till week 1 and look at the matchups and be like, and then drop someone who got hurt. Like, I don't know.
That's how you do it.
So, that's the fantasy corner. Tune in next Wednesday. We're going to recap all these games we just talked about. Maybe do a little Browns draft analysis.
Probably. I think we'll have time next week for that.
And join the Pick'em. If you go to the Facebook page, AFC Northcast, there's a post that shouldn't be too far down with our Yahoo Fantasy Football Pick'em. It's just a straight up Pick'em, no confidence points, no spreads. Doesn't matter that you've missed a few weeks. We are going to play it every week. And so this past week, I think Tater won.
Yes,
he was winning.
Yep. He had 15 right.
Crazy.
And he only lost one game, and it was the Monday night game.
Yep.
15 for 15 leading into Monday night. Couldn't finish. Pathetic Tater.
Hey, look at Stiller Chad had what was on the right side on that game.
Yeah, I know what's going on.
Look at
Just not in the other games.
So 15 right. A couple people had 14 right. I've been pretty proud of our fan base here. So going into week 3, we've got 4 people tied for first place with 24 right, picking 75% clip. That's not too shabby.
Yeah. You know what that means, though? That means Tater only got 9 right in week 1. That's quick math, Tater. I made it through elementary school. I know what you're doing. Inconsistency.
I think Tater was in last place. I think 9 was last place in week 1.
Yeah. I think I know exactly where Tater's going to be after this week. I know all about people like you, Tater.
So, everybody have a good week. Have a good weekend. Enjoy some football. I think there's some college football this weekend. SEC doesn't start till October, I don't think.
Apparently Notre Dame canceled stuff. It's a mess.
Yeah. Anyways, have fun. There will be football on Sunday and Monday, and that's the good kind. So tune in, and until next time, we don't have a tagline. So
just come back. We'll try and think of one.